heavy spoilers for Mass Effect, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Outer Wilds, and Celeste.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to Joystick Frequency, a video game podcast that doubles as a video game book club where you're a member just by listening in. I'm your host, Trent. Joining me are my co-hosts, Brady.
Hi.
And Walker.
I'm a co-host.
Did I fuck up co-host?
It was a little flat. It's fine. We'll just roll with it.
Alright. Last time we talked about Pokemon Legends.
Ooh. I mean, kind of.
Hang on. Let me. Last time we talked about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, as well as we revealed our top games of 2022. But now it's a brand new year. This time we'll be talking about some of the games that we've already played. We think you should too. These games are near and dear to each of our hearts. We feel like now that we're approaching our 1 year anniversary next podcast, whoop whoop, we should share some of the games that made us the gamers we are today. Think of it as a suggested gaming list for the Joystick Frequency. We are only bringing a few to you today, but we plan to add to this list as we continue making the podcast. So without further ado, let's begin the same way we always do. Start the podcast and tell you about our months. So, what have y'all been playing, fellas?
Well, this past month I've been playing two pretty new games. One is called Forspoken. It just came out recently for PS5. It is an action open world RPG game with some very fun combat and movement mechanics. It's definitely a fun game. I'd call it a 6.5 out of 10. I would definitely recommend trying it out. I've also been playing the newly released Hogwarts Legacy. More to come on that later.
I've heard some rumors about that, about perhaps talking about it soon. I have been playing actually a lot of games. It's kind of been a blitz and a flurry over the last month or so. Just assorted. I was trying to finish up God of War Ragnarok. On top of that, my partner and I have been doing runs in Hades, which we picked up for the first time, which is absolutely fantastic. I didn't expand upon God of War because if you listen to our last podcast, we kind of made our feelings on that very clear. Also, additionally, on a recommendation, I picked up Outer Wilds again after only playing it for a little bit the first time and being a bit overwhelmed. Outer Wilds is absolutely fantastic. If anyone here listening enjoys puzzle games, exploration, kind of like finding your own path, Outer Wilds is a fantastic job at just like, here's the world that you have available to you. Go out and figure out what's going on. Find your own, find the plot threads that you enjoy the most, follow those through, and they will all connect together and congeal into this masterful, just everything coming together. Would highly recommend it. I haven't finished it yet. I've been too busy playing so many other things. But yeah, that will be my current high recommendation is the Outer Wilds.
Alright, just like Walker and his partner have been playing, they actually also hooked me onto Hades, and oh man, I can tell you, I can clearly see why that game was Game of the Year 2020, because I've never played a roguelike that makes you so invested into the characters as it is, and I love mythology, so the mix that they do on it is really, really good, and it's just a breath of fresh air. And it's one of those roguelikes that I don't feel like if I'm throwing my face against the wall just trying to beat either. I've had my close calls in the times where I've been so close to beating a run and then I die right at the end and I'll just set it down for the night and be like, alright, I'm done. But other than that, it's proven to be a blast, and I'm very excited to keep playing it. I'm almost finished with it, I think. As for my other game, I've gone back to my roots now that I've done my Sekiro playthrough annually. More on that later. But it made me want to go finally finish Dark Souls 1, because I never actually finished it. I've 100%ed all the other Dark Souls games, including Elden Ring and Sekiro as well. Not Bloodborne yet. I'm not much of a PlayStation player. But I've gone back to Dark Souls, and it's a little rough to go back, but especially for the remaster at least, it feels a lot more polished than the original game, and knowing as much as I do about Dark Souls now, it makes it a lot easier. It still does not bring the difficulty down in the mechanics and the stiffness of the controls a bit. It still provides that edge of difficulty that I like in games. Did y'all want to add anything?
No, not particularly. Just that I'm glad Walker enjoyed Outer Wilds.
It's so far so good. I haven't had a chance to finish it yet, because I've been playing catch up on Celeste, and frankly, Emma has stolen the Xbox ever since Hogwarts Legacy came out, which has been that's already been great because I've been playing games basically nonstop between our basically we just shot through the original God of War, and then we did Ragnarok back to back. I went through misunderstanding the original prompt for this episode. I was like, oh, it's supposed to be games on our basically our two playlist, not the games that we really enjoy that we're recommending to other people, which I guess makes so much more sense. But I went through and played Bug Snacks, which also super fantastic. Another kind of like puzzle game. Uh, Played through that, completed that, realized, oh no, I need to be playing Celeste as well. So I picked up and started playing through Celeste at the same time. At this point, we're also playing Hades, and I was doing a little bit of the Outer Wilds, so it's just it all got away from me. I'm not even done with Celeste. I've finished the main story and some of the other stuff, but oh my gosh, there's a lot of games, and they're all very good.
This part can be included, but I went to Walker's house to hang out, and he put on Outer Wilds, and I'm probably going to pick it up relatively soon as well, just because of what I've seen of it. And we go to a planet, and we discover something that Walker hadn't discovered yet. It, like, just blew our minds, and instantly I just sat there, I'm looking at, these glyphs on the wall, and how quantum mechanics work in the game, and I'm just like...
Yes.
I'm just
yeah,
like,
we stumbled
yeah,
into a pretty
I'm
big
sold.
thing. I basically sat Trent down. I was like, "Have you ever heard of the Outer Wilds?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Here, let me show you one run through real quick." I turn it on. I play for just a minute. I take off into the sky. I'm like, "Okay, pick a direction. I'm gonna go there." And he points at this big green planet, and then we fly into it. And I fuck around there for a minute, immediately die. I was like, "Okay, well, run that back. Let's actually show him what's going on here." Uh, and then we stumbled into the giant vortex that's going on there and found the secrets hidden behind that, and that was, oh boy.
On the water planet?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a fun planet.
Freaking hurricanes everywhere. Like, he said, let's sit down and we'll do one run. I think we ended up doing 3.
Yeah.
They can be pretty quick if you die.
And I did very quickly. When we landed at that tower behind the giant hurricane, I managed to park my ship in the tree, so I wasn't fully sure if I was going to be able to recover it. It was like a tree, something like 50 meters off the ground, and I dropped out and started looking around, and I was like, oh, well, the gravity's turbo hard here. I can't use my jetpack to get up back to the ship, so we're just kind of stranded here. Eventually managed to somehow parkour our way onto it without dying.
Well, actually, I don't know if this works in the main vortex, but on any of the other islands, if you wait long enough, there will be a hurricane that picks up the island, tosses it into space.
Yup.
And gives you a little bit
we
of time.
found that
Discovered
out.
a little secret with that as well.
Yes, there are some places you
doorways.
can only get into.
Yup.
I think there's like underneath one of the islands you can only get to.
There's an under. Oh my god.
That game seems so fucking cool.
It's so fun.
I need to hurry up and finish Hades and Dark Souls so I can shift some stuff over and do that, because I want to play Outer Wilds so bad.
And then there's another issue on top of that, the fact that Hogwarts Legacy is out and it looks so much fun.
Oh my god, yeah. So Hogwarts Legacy, I'm buying it on Friday too. So ugh.
Oh jeez, oh.
First world problems. Alright, so now that we are done discussing what we've been playing this month and the excitement we have towards Hogwarts Legacy, I'm sure, let's move on to what we're actually here for. So what we got a couple of games that we're going to go fully in depth on, and then we brought a couple that we just pick here and there that are going to have less description about them, but we still think are fairly good. So who would like to start?
I can kick us off. So one of the games that I would recommend for anyone to play, it's very simple pick up and play style. The Spyro Reignited trilogy is actually just fantastic. They went through, I believe it is Toys for Bob was the creators of the Spyro Reignited trilogy. But they went through and revitalized the first 3 games in the Spyro trilogy. Well, the first 3 games in the Spyro franchise, and put them all onto one disc, remastered them, but everything else is still exactly the same gems, same dragons, same eggs, and you get to go around through a bunch of very small small levels connected by larger hub worlds, going through rescuing dragons of all types, old, young, baby, and collecting gems to get you on through the world. They've gone through really masterfully improved the graphics and music, just modernizing a series that was already fantastic to begin with. I've been a fan of Spyro for a very, very long time, and I would highly recommend this game. It's super fun and cheerful if you just want a weekend to do something lighthearted.
All right. I will go next. My first recommendation of a game that you should play is Civilization 6, specifically Sid Meier's Civilization 6. If you haven't heard of it already, it is a game by Firaxis Games. Came out in 2016. It is a turn-based strategy game. You play as a civilization from somewhere in human history. For example, you have the Romans, the Greeks, Sumeria, ancient, I've almost said ancient England, Victorian England. You got all these different civilizations, and you can choose one of them to play as, and you take them from caveman all the way to the modern age, building cities, controlling resources, developing your nation, and you win by being the most militarily developed, scientifically developed, culturally developed, or diplomatically developed. You're trying to become the preeminent civilization, basically. It is a very crunchy numbers and optimization heavy game, and I love it. And I can't recommend it enough if you are into strategy games. If you don't like strategy games, you'll be very bored the whole time. But if that's your style, it is a very worthwhile game to pick up.
Hell yeah. Not a big fan of Civ personally, but I absolutely get it for those who do.
It scratches that itch inside of every man to push little soldiers around on a map. And that's basically what Civ 6 is for me. I can't be Napoleon, but I can pretend to be.
I think the closest I've come to Civ 6 is I played Civ Revolution for a lot on the 360.
I haven't played any of the other Civ games. I need to go back and play some of them because apparently they're very good because they kept making them. So Civ Revolution is definitely on my list.
And as far as the Spyro Reignited trilogy, it's just it's a platforming collectathon, yeah?
Yeah, really great movement. You have some very basic skills. You can breathe fire or other elements as you get further on along. You can glide from point to point, and you can charge as your dragon, and this as the Dragon Spyro, and that gives you like enough like toys to play around with to really like make some interesting stuff happen, and it just feels good. Everything from picking up gems to running around to gliding from point to point, it feels great to play.
Sick. The first one I'm going to bring is something we've all played, actually, and one of my favorite games ever. Borderlands 2. It's a up to 4-player class-based looter shooter. It has great mechanics, thousands of guns, like millions of them. And hands down, the best video game villain I've ever had the pleasure of fighting against in Handsome Jack. It was made by Gearbox, published by 2K in 2012. The cel-shaded graphics really stand out in the game, and it's one of the few games I know that actually does cel-shaded graphics. So most of the gameplay is from the first person. You're shooting your guns, but you also have your crazy abilities from your classes. Ends up being like thousands of combinations you could possibly do, as well as just some of the guns get crazy. Like, I know in Borderlands 3, one of their selling points was, we got a gun with legs, and like they actually have guns that run with legs. Borderlands 2 is not as advanced, but I think some of the best guns they've come up with are in that, including guns that scream at you.
I'm remembering the screaming gun and it being so good for me for an extended period of time that I just had to put up with the horrific sound. That's not the one that you get from killing Shooty McFace, right?
No, I don't remember what gun that is, but the screaming one is called the Bane, and I remember it's an SMG that has significantly more damage than any SMG, so it's like, hey, you really want to use this. And then you switch to it, you realize you're super slow, and the gun screams at you the entire time.
Yeah. I got that gun, saw the numbers on it, shot it once, heard the screaming, and then threw it away immediately. I just didn't. It was not worth it. That gun was so annoying. Incredible game design, though. That was a fantastic thing they made me do.
There's actually been some YouTube videos of people doing challenge runs with only the Bane, and they're fucking hilarious, because about third hour into the game, you're just going delusional at that point.
I mean, I also second your opinion on Handsome Jack being a fantastic villain. Normally, if there was a villain that was just popping in through the story to talk shit to me, that villain would get annoying very quickly. Handsome Jack somehow managed to be entertaining every time I heard his voice.
It's just the sheer charisma, just utter
Yeah.
batshit wild things that he'll say, while perfectly berating you. It's very good villain. I wasn't a crazy big fan of the game, but I definitely enjoyed Handsome Jack's presence. The second game that I brought today is one that I've played a little bit more recently. It was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Also particularly topical considering it's getting a sequel this year, which I am exceptionally excited for. This is an exciting romp through the galaxy far, far away that takes place between episodes 3 and 4 in the original, or which takes place between episodes 3 and 4 in the Star Wars main series. It has these really endearing characters and a fascinating story, and really lets you exist and play around in the Star Wars worlds. Um, I think Cal Kestis is such a fantastic character, with a wonderful little companion droid of BD. Um, One of my favorite droid designs of all time, uh, combined with brilliant Metroidvania style exploration, looping back and going out, getting upgrades that let you explore the worlds and places that you visited before even more. Uh, it really encourages you to, dig into those little corners and find every little like bit and piece that you can to customize your sabers or your looks or however. And then on top of that, it throws some. Uh, I'm gonna say Souls-like combat because I mean that's what it is. It's a dodge roll mechanic. You have a heavy and light attack, with a little bit more of like a combo system, the way that God of War does. Um, but also very limited healing options. Would highly recommend this game. It was just an absolute blast to go through. Give you a fun chance to explore the worlds.
This is one I'm definitely gonna have to pick up relatively quickly, especially with the sequel coming out. I missed it the first chance it came around. This is about whenever I was started to die on Star Wars, just because I can't take the fan base, to be completely honest. But I'm looking forward to picking this up because I've like just I mean I brought a Souls game, so I mean of course I love that combat. So
My next game that I brought is Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas is a post apocalyptic role playing game that released in 2010 by developer Obsidian Entertainment. In my opinion, this is the best role playing game that has ever been released. One thing that Fallout New Vegas does better than any game I have ever played it gives you so many options to complete quests. So one of the more famous things that New Vegas does is it gives you dialogue options based on your intelligence. So if you have a low enough intelligence score, you get extra dialogue options to act like an idiot. If you have a high enough score, you get better options to act as a smart person. Depending on what skills and what builds you have, you get different options in conversations or in completing quests. Like, for example, if you specialize into explosions, and the quest is to assassinate a political figure, you could set a bomb on the stage. You could snipe them from across the canyon. You could bribe one of the guards to let you by while he's giving a speech. This is a real quest that I am talking about in the game, and there are literally hundreds of ways to solve it just by being creative with the game systems. Um, New Vegas also has just the coolest atmosphere. It's very much cowboys in a post-apocalyptic setting with classic Las Vegas 30s and 40s big band songs playing, and just that retro futurism vibe that the Fallout series is famous for. Can't recommend Fallout New Vegas enough. It's my second favorite game of all time after the last one on my list.
I actually ended up playing Fallout 4 as my first Fallout, and I really enjoyed going through. I actually 100%ed that one, got all the achievements in it. I realized you can't 100% a Bethesda game, but from what I saw of that one, if the option for roleplay is like even more expanded in New Vegas, which seems like a downgrade going from New Vegas to 4 in that case, if they're even more open in New Vegas, I think I would like that better than 4.
Yeah, I think the general fan consensus is that for while they did have upgraded graphics and the gunplay was a lot better, the role playing aspect was not as good as Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. So if you enjoyed that aspect of Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas can definitely scratch that itch. It also has some of the best DLCs. Um, Old World Blues is to this day one of my favorite DLCs. It is just the wackiest fucking 50s movie about mad scientists type of DLC. Just the most fun.
I've got very limited experience with the Fallout franchise as a whole. I think I've played maybe 2 hours of Fallout 3. Just didn't vibe with it too much. Purely just because I had just spent something like 400 hours in Skyrim, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I burned myself out a bit. But what you said about the like different skill tree options opening up, different like conversation options as well, like making that tree branch out, giving you the chance to like fully immerse and roleplay as a different type of character. That's pretty fun. Really, really cool to see.
Right. And there's like 4 separate different endings you can get based on what factions you side with. It's a very role play game, which is one of the reasons I love it.
All right, Trent, you want to tell us what your next one you brought to the table is?
So, my next one we've all played as well. It's Batman Arkham City. It's a single-player detective mystery and beat 'em up. It's got fantastic puzzles, crazy combos with gadgets that you're constantly using throughout the combat to take out hordes of guys, and probably the best traversal I've ever experienced in a video game, with the ability to just glide with the Batman cape and then quick zip line to something to launch yourself higher. And it's just so good. It was made by Rocksteady, published by Warner Brothers. The level of detail that they put into Gotham and the atmosphere, as well as the villains and everything, Mark Hamill putting on the best performance I think I've ever seen him do. It makes you really feel like you are the Batman and you're the one actually solving all of this and doing all this cool stuff. It's so good.
The Arkham series is just fantastic the whole way through, I think. It does a fantastic job of, I know I'm overusing the term fantastic, but I'm just flabbergasted, honestly, at how well that they are put together. They make like world navigation super enjoyable. You get to go through and experience the different places within the Batman franchise if you're a big Batman nerd, and if not, it's just a super fun beat 'em up that like combos feel like turbo satisfying to hit. You're always flowing from one enemy to another or busting out some cool gadget. It's a lot of fun.
I want to just repeat what Trent said earlier about Mark Hamill giving a fantastic performance as the Joker in this game. When it comes to superhero games and superhero media in general, a lot of it lives and dies by the villain, because like one of the reasons Batman is so popular is because he has such interesting villains, and I think Mark Hamill cemented himself for me as the definitive Joker with this game specifically. He knocked that performance out of the park. And I think he's the reason the game was, or he's a big reason the game was as interesting as it was, story-wise.
And especially with the Suicide Squad game supposedly coming out this year, I'm ready for another real good Rocksteady game, especially with the ones after Arkham City not living up to Arkham City, but still being pretty good Arkham games. Wait, hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
you do.
Yes.
Hey, I think the channel might be turning because you just tuned into trivia.
Ah, fuck.
Uh-oh.
Ah, damn it. What is this? No. That actually caught me off guard. Damn it.
Got him.
Son of a bitch.
You bastard.
Hey, we didn't have time in the Game of the Year one to bring it out, so I got to bring it out now. And I specifically remember that y'all were ready for some Pokemon trivia last time.
Oh, yeah.
Given that we were doing Pokemon Scarlet Violet. So this will be the one-time trivia is not the same category as what we're discussing, hopefully. I know that Brady specifically wants to redeem himself on this Pokemon trivia.
Oh, God, I'm going to fuck it up. I'm going to fuck it up.
Dude.
I know
Good luck. You got this. Just do your best.
I think what we can do is we can make 2 separate lists in this doc that we're on. I can make mine up in my section. You make yours in your section. We don't look at each other's, and we just write down the answers before we say them, and then it doesn't matter who answers first.
All right. So do y'all have y'all's list ready? I have a few more questions than last time, but they're short, simple, fast answers, and because y'all know Pokemon a lot, y'all should be able to get it. So y'all both can't see each other's answers, right?
Correct.
Yep, correct.
All right. So the first category, this will be 5 questions of this. First Pokemon numerically, forms included. So, for instance, you're looking for the first Pokemon of this. I'll say something specific. Your answer will be the first Pokemon of that.
Okay.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
I think so.
All right. The first Pokemon numerically to be labeled as legendary.
Yeah, I've got it.
Number 2. The first Pokemon numerically to have the ability Speed Boost.
Ooh, that's interesting.
That's cheeky. Oh, God.
Number 3. The first Pokemon numerically to be 4 times weak to 2 different types.
2 different types.
Yes.
Number 4. The first Pokemon numerically to learn Bullet Punch Gen 3 onwards.
Gen 3 Pokemon and onwards.
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Okay, one sec. Let's go take a minute. Bullet Punch is one of those moves I never used, but...
Oh, shit. I had the wrong one.
Oh, fuck. No, don't correct yourself. No, trust your gut. What are you doing? Fuck. I'm suddenly blanking on every single Gen 3 Pokemon. I don't think this is correct, but we're gonna go with it anyway. Yo. Okay.
Last one for this category. First Pokemon numerically that's a flying type with a K in the name.
Flying type with a K in the name?
Yep. All right, do y'all want to go over those
Wait,
answers?
I'm still trying to think of a flying type with a K in the name.
I can't even think of one.
Yeah,
you want to know where my fucking brain went first? Kingler. How dare you?
Fuck you, because that's exactly what I thought too. I was
Let's
like, all
go.
right, Kingler. I'm like, is there a Kingbird? There isn't.
Oh, God, I can't even think about flying type anymore.
I can think of flying types, but none of them.
What do you mean Drifloon doesn't have a K in it?
Hoot Hoot?
Ah!
Okay, I thought of one with a K in it. I don't know if this is the first one, but I thought of one with a K in it.
Fucking same. We'll see what happens.
For the first one, the first Pokemon numerically to be labeled as legendary. That's Arcanine.
Arcanine, let's go.
I put Articuno.
Arcanine's a cheeky one.
Arcanine is a cheeky one, yeah.
The first Pokemon to have the ability Speed Boost numerically, Yanma.
Yanma.
Oh.
I'm going to ask y'all before I go into this, what 2 types is Paris 4 times weak to?
Flying and fire?
Flying and fire, yeah.
True. Okay, hang on. Let me go look up the Pokedex. 'Cause I had a different answer. I just want to make sure.
Did you also put Paris?
Yeah, I also put Paris.
Okay, that's reassuring. Well, no, we're right. Ooh, I guess we'll see.
Okay, I'm willing to give both y'all half a point on this because y'all would be right if it wasn't forms included. That answer is Alolan Sandshrew, weak to both fighting and fire.
Oh, that's...
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought that far, yeah.
I'll give myself a half a point for that.
Number 4, the first Pokemon to learn Bullet Punch, Gen 3 onwards. That's Makuhita.
God damn it! I had typed out Makuhita and then I deleted it and put Breloom. Fuck!
Oh, no.
He did.
Wait, is Breloom further in the dex?
As of the Pokemon app I'm using, Breloom can't even learn it.
Bullet
That's
Punch?
bullshit. Wait a minute.
That's what mine says. I even went to Gen 3 specifically and Gen 4 just to make sure.
Oh, it learns Mach Punch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Not okay. Yep.
All right. And then the fifth one, flying type with a K in the name, that's Murkrow,
Not Skarmory.
Fuck! I also went Skarmory. Shit!
who is
Well, I've got
a
half a
little
point.
bit after Murkrow.
Oh god. Also for Bullet Punch, I just want you to know, Brady, I went Ninjask. I don't know why. I'm still thinking Speed Boost, I guess.
That was my first thought for Speed Boost as well.
All right. So for this next one, if you don't get the number exact, I will take the person closest. So this is
Okay.
going to be five questions again. It's how many Pokemon, and it's all the answers are going to be numbers.
Okay.
How many Pokemon? Okay.
All right. How many Pokemon can have the ability Klutz?
Oh, this is gonna be a nightmare of a round. Let's go. Shot in the dark time. I'm gonna say this many.
Number 2. How many Pokemon have 6 or more appendages in the first 2 gens?
God, what is this?
What?
Okay, 6 or more appendages.
Appendages.
What are you classifying as an appendage?
Heads are classified as appendages.
Heads are
Heads?
Horns classify?
No.
Okay.
So heads, arms, and legs is what we're talking about, and they have six or more.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
I'm assuming appendage is anything you can move. Then.
Yes.
Okay, so like a tongue could count as an appendage. Like would Lickitung count as
Would
having
Lickitung
6 because it
count?
has 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a tongue?
No. Don't count Lickitung.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't think of the tongue.
Do tails count?
I'm shooting in the goddamn dark with this one. I don't have a good guess.
In the first 2 generations, you said?
Yeah.
So let's see. That is 251 Pokemon.
Divide by 6. There's your answer.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it. If I'm within 5, give it to me.
Y'all ready for the third?
Sure.
How many Pokemon have a single stat over 150?
Oh, bitch.
Oh, fucking
Only
hell.
one stat?
Not equal to 150, over 150.
Over 150.
And only one stat or multiple stats?
At least one stat.
Okay.
That seems high.
I'm just picking numbers now. Let's see.
150 is a lot.
150 is a lot. There's 9 generations right now, right?
There's 1,000 plus Pokemon. That's not counting forms. Well, I mean, it doesn't quite equal 1,100 with forms.
Are mega forms included in these?
Mega forms, no.
Mega forms, no. Okay.
And we're done including the forms anyway.
Okay.
That was for the first one.
That was for Sandshrew.
I cannot wait to hear your answers to this, Brady, because I
I am-
am shooting in the dark. I am taking a random guess in a general vicinity.
The fourth one. How many Pokemon are smaller than 9 inches?
There's got to be a lot of those. That's got to be a high number, right?
Well, 9 inches, that's pretty short.
There's got to be at least like
I'll say the jump from 9 inches to a foot, ridiculous how many there are.
well, I'm gonna go a little lower than I was originally gonna guess then, but not that low.
I'm gonna say below 9 inches.
Yes.
We'll go with that then.
I really want to know what you're putting on these, Walker.
I want to know yours so bad.
The last one for this one. How many Pokemon have no weaknesses if every type after Gen 1 was not added for enemy Pokemon only?
Oh, fuck you.
Okay, so this is not including Steel, Fairy, and Dark weaknesses
For enemy Pokemon only.
for enemy Pokemon, but I can be Steel.
Yes.
How many Pokemon have no weaknesses based on that?
Yes.
Okay.
See, I know this trust question was because Trent had been personally slighted by a certain edition.
Huh?
I know this question is vindication for a certain typing. God, dude. Fuck it. I'm just gonna guess. Have no weaknesses?
No weaknesses.
I'm having a stroke. Okay. Sure. We'll go with...
Okay, I'm good. I'm guessing on a lot of these, but I'm good.
So we'll go over the answers for that section.
Great.
Okay.
How many Pokemon can have the ability Klutz?
2.
That answer's 12.
No shot? Are you fucking serious?
Which Walker got exact.
Oh
What?
my god. It's 12?
Yes. It's exactly 12.
There's no
Jesus.
fucking way it's actually 12.
Yeah, hang
I'm
on.
pulling my leg.
Let me pull it up real quick again. So normally, the Pokemon Baneri, Lopunny, Woobat, Swoobat, Golett, Golurk, Stoofle, and Beware can have it. But hidden, Audino, Toxel, Capsicid, and Fido can have it.
All right, that's a lot more than I thought.
Klutz is such a bad ability, too.
Yeah. How many Pokemon have 6 or more appendages in the first 2 gens? That's 10.
Okay, Brady, what did you say?
I put 25.
I put 38.
Hey, that's a point for me.
I have Machamp, Tentacruel, Starmie, Almastar, Ladybug, Leedian, Yanma, Girafarig, Caesar, Skarmory.
Skarmory? Oh, wait, it's wings.
I went and looked up the Pokemon description for it. Skarmory is described as each of those being a single wing.
Oh, what?
That's gross.
That's fucked. That's disgusting.
All right, next one. Have a stat over 150.
10.
I didn't list this one.
Is it 70?
No, it's 21.
Fuck.
What did you say, Brady?
10.
Yeah, so Brady would get that point. The next one are smaller than 9 inches. 34.
I put 19.
I put 50.
Brady went over. We're going to go Price is Right rules for this, so Walker would get that point.
Okay.
And then the last one. Have no weaknesses if every other type after Gen 1 was not added for enemy Pokemon only. That's 5. It's Sableye, Spiritomb, Electros.
Fucking shot, it's 5. There's no way it's 5.
Hisuian, Zora, and Zoroark.
I guessed 5 exactly.
You guessed 5?
Yeah, he did.
Dude.
I need to buy a lottery ticket. Fuck.
Now, you said that's the only type combinations that wouldn't have a weakness?
Yes.
So it's normal normal ghost and dark ghost? Is that it?
And Electros because it has Levitate.
So we're constituting ability as well. Okay. Interesting.
The next one would be gyms. What is the only type besides Dragon to not be in the first 6 gyms?
I knew that one immediately.
I think I know.
At least I think I know. Wait a minute. Let me verify. Go back
Don't
through
Google.
No. Of course, no. I'm going back through my brain juice.
I can think of one of 2 that it is. And I think it's a different one than I had originally put. I'm going to be pissed when it's my first option.
And it's specifically gems, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to stick with my answer.
All right.
I changed mine, but I wrote down what I wrote down first, just so I have documentation that I'm a moron.
Fantastic.
All right. The next one's about the Elite Four. There are only 3 types that have not been used in the Elite Four. What are they?
Does this include champion battles, or is this like specifically type?
No, it doesn't include champions because they usually vary from their types. Each Elite Four member specifically has a type that they are. So I'm talking about them specifically.
So, okay. I'm so sorry. We have to name the 3 types or just one of the types?
I'll give you a point for each one.
I'm missing one. I wanna put one more down. I can't even think of all the types anymore. Fuck it.
All right. Last question. This one's about Pokemon Champions. What is the type that is used the most by the Pokemon Champions?
The type?
Yes.
Taking a shot in the dark on this one. Ooh, wait. There's a couple specific champions that kind of skew the demographic a bit.
There are a couple of champions that are. I'm going on a weird limb.
I also went on a weird limb. I'm gonna put my secondary answer. I'm gonna put don't grade this. Okay. I'm happy with that, I think.
I have also added my second choice, and I'm ready.
All right. So for the first answer, I asked the gyms, the only type besides Dragon to not be in the first 6 gyms. For that, I had Dark type.
Yeah, dark type.
Dark? I put ice. Fuck.
Yeah, people had been throwing ice as Gen 2.
Was that in the first 6?
Yeah.
I
Gen
thought
2,
he was the 7th.
Fucking, what's his name?
Price. As well as Sword and Shield, if you had Shield, fought the Ice Lady instead of the Rock guy, I believe. Or maybe it's the other way around.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did I hear the question wrong? Besides Dragon, what?
Besides dragon, what is the only type to not be used in the first 6 gyms?
Gyms. I heard gins. Oh. Well, I mean, the answer still worked out because Dark hadn't been used as a gym type until Sword and Shield. And people had been upset about it and the fact that it didn't get a Dynamax one.
Yeah. For the Elite Four question, only 3 have not been used. That's grass, normal, and I forget the other one, but it's not electric.
It's not electric. Fuck.
Fairy?
No, it wouldn't be fairy because isn't what's her name of the new gen? No, she's steel. Okay, so then maybe it is fairy. Fairy was only included here. Yes, it is fairy then.
Hey.
Did you get all 3 right?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
I was really going through. I'm like, oh fuck. Okay. Grass hasn't been.
Who was the electric one?
Electric one would have been the sun and moon, and that's the little kid. Huh.
Electric might also be valid then. I'm trying to think.
Might also be valid.
Because that was it was his mentor was the Elite Four member, and he was a Steel type leader.
Also, wasn't Sun and Moon, didn't they not have an Elite Four in Champion? It was like named something else?
It's an Elite Four.
But the argument could be made that no matter what type the Elite Four at Sun and Moon is, he's not an Elite Four member.
Yeah, you're right. Give yourself a point for electric.
Dope.
Both of you get 3 points then.
Cool.
As for the type used the most, totally forgot that blue uses a different team based on who you have.
So does Hal.
So does Hal?
And Professor Kukui, if you want to look at it that way. So does Leon.
What the fuck? Yeah, that's true. God damn it.
Moves around. Bray, what'd you say?
I said flying. Flying is my choice.
Water was my choice.
I think water was one of my backups.
Flying is a fair choice because there's a lot of Gyarados appears a lot.
There's a lot of really strong Pokemon that are secondary typed dragon or secondary type flying. Like most of Lance's team is part flying.
Yeah.
I know Blue has Pidgeot and also could have Charizard or Gyarados or Charizard and Gyarados.
Yeah, we're at 8.5 for Walker, 5.5 for Brady. So the last one doesn't matter. Walker will win, but I will get that last question
for posterity.
For Brady, yeah, for Brady's sanity.
All right. Well, one of these days I'll win a quiz.
I'm sorry. I should not have. I cannot believe I nailed those 2 on the head.
I am not upset about this one because of how much guessing was involved from both of us. Because if I'd have gotten them right, I still don't think it would have felt like a win for me because I was guessing on a lot of these. Shooting in the dark. I love the way Walker spelled Blaziken.
Look, dude. Blaziken?
Blaziken! Alright. Now that we fixed that interference, whatever that weird game show was, we're going to continue on with our games. Walker, why don't you tell us about Celeste?
Celeste is a game with a girl who wants to climb a mountain. I do not feel like I'm going to be able to do this game the justice it deserves, but it is a masterclass in storytelling and using difficulty in the challenges that you are facing in the game to reflect the challenges the character itself is going through. Celeste is a pretty standard platformer. You are this little girl, 2D side-scroller style game, walking along a mountain path. You can jump, you can dash one time, and then your hair turns blue and you're not able to dash again until you touch the ground. And you can climb. Those are the 3 basic mechanics the game teaches you in the tutorial level, which is pretty simple. You walk through, jump a couple of short gaps, do a bit of climbing, and then your main character, Madeline, runs into a crazy old coot on the side of the mountain who is basically just asking her what she's doing there and why she wants to climb the mountain. And as you play through Celeste, you discover a lot about this character of Madeline, about a lot of the struggles that she's facing in her own personal life with struggles of depression and anxiety, but there's this through line of determination through it all, When the game first boots up and you're put into the tutorial level, is you see text on the screen giving you some very brief introductions, asking you why you're nervous, just breathe. And then once you complete the tutorial, you get another little bit of text just saying, you can do this. And that theme of you can do this persists the whole way through. Celeste is pretty infamous for being a pretty tough platformer. There is a lot of different sections that require you to learn their different gimmicks. Each specific level has a new thing that it'll throw at you, but also new like core mechanics to the game that you don't learn until you're super deep into it. Maybe you kind of done it intuitively, or just kind of figured it out randomly on the fly. But for me, there was a mechanic that I didn't learn until literally last night. And I have played this game twice before. Uh, I guess, not gotten to this point because it doesn't directly tell you until you do one of the much harder challenges of the game. Uh, but I guess let me go ahead and just hit some overarching points. The gameplay, like I mentioned before, it is precise platforming with a level of challenge that is made to match what the characters themselves are going through. I've kind of talked about that in detail already. Uh, but to add on top of that and add even more challenge, um, throughout these platforming levels, there are hidden strawberries that are pretty standard collectible. All you have to do is touch it and then touch the ground firmly, and then the strawberry will collect, and then you'll have gotten the collectible. These fuckers are devious. They'll hide them in like specific hidden rooms they have to break walls to get through. They'll hide them, you know, just off screen behind like a certain platform. Some of them will even have wings attached to them, which means if you dash in the same screen that strawberry with wings is, it will flutter off and you won't be able to collect it unless you die and reset the room. So if you want additional challenges, there are tons scattered throughout this game. But if you're not too savvy on challenge, the game is really good at providing accessibility options to set the game to the challenge level that you feel is right for you. If you feel like, you know, I can really do this, but I need the game to be slowed down by 10%, you can adjust how fast the game plays in the settings menu. Or you can add infinite jumps, or you can add no die mode. If you just want to go through and experience the story that the game has for you, then that option is available for you. It's just beautiful how this game is able to thoroughly enrapture you as you play. There are, I believe it is 7 main levels of the game, or with one epilogue level and one DLC epilogue afterwards. They all get progressively harder as you go on, but your skill level is also getting progressively better. I remember when I first played through Celeste, I got my ass handed to me on, I think, level 3. It's one level where you're just going through like a hotel. But this is the first time they introduce kind of tricky platforming where sometimes if you stand on certain platforms, that platform then becomes an obstacle. You can't touch that platform again, otherwise you'll die and reset. I am throwing around the term die and reset pretty just here and there, and that is because you're going to die a lot when you play this game. But while some games are pretty brutal when you die, I mean, you got, you know, your Elden Rings and Dark Souls that make you lose all your collective money or level up ability and have to fight your way back to get to it. Celeste is very different in the regards of you die and you're back reset at the beginning of the room almost instantly. It takes maybe a half a second for you to load back and just be back into it. And these rooms, these segments that they keep you in are pretty small. So you're, for the most part, just going to be getting over one particular hurdle and then you're on to the next room. So I'm sorry, I've been talking. Celeste is just, it's fantastic. When it comes to aesthetics, you've got this beautiful pixel art the whole world has built out with these very like bright and cheerful colors, but they're also able to capture in some levels the how rough and dark stuff like depression and anxiety and nervousness and fear can be. But you're still also able to see these super bright, cheerful levels with these pink, fluffy clouds that you jump off of. It ranges, and I think it does such a good job at encapsulating that. And I, the last real thing I want to touch on before I kind of open it up for y'all to ask me questions about it is this is going to be kind of spoilers for the end game of Celeste. So if you don't want to hear that, just skip ahead a little bit, or you guys, if you don't want to hear it, let me know and I'll just avoid talking about it. But the final level is just a masterpiece. It is called the Summit. The whole point of this game has been climbing to get up to the top of the mountain. Something happens early on, or not early on, but like just before this, where all the progress that you made is removed and you are put back at the bottom, lower than you were even at the start, and you have to climb all the way back up. And you conquer the entire mountain in this one level, going through every single level that you've done beforehand, little remixed versions that are harder, but done in such a way that shows you just how much you've grown to be able to knock out these harder versions of the levels with these old gimmicks in the same, if not much quicker than you would have before. Celeste is fantastic. Celeste is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and that is coming from someone who hasn't even gone through every single thing that the game has to offer. I mentioned, the collectible strawberries. If you beat the game, decide you want to do more, if you get through an entire level without dying, which is a feat and a half, there's a special golden strawberry. There are different collectibles hidden out through the levels, super secret hidden ones called crystal hearts, which you need to gain access to the epilogue level, as well as different cassette tapes, which carry a whole second remixed version of the full level that you played through, with much harder challenges but a shorter overall period. Once you do that and beat the epilogue, you gain access to the C-sides of levels which are even more remixed and more difficult. There's the epilogues and just tons and tons of collectibles and different challenges and things that you can do, and it's just an all-encompassing experience that really lets you pick the level of challenge that you want and see however much you want to see. Yeah, if y'all get a chance, please, I would highly recommend Celeste.
Right, are we open for questions?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so you talk about the game having increased challenge as you get through certain parts of it, and different versions of each of the levels having more difficulty. Correct me if I'm wrong, there are no enemies in Celeste. It's all puzzle and platforming?
It is entirely platforming. There is some segments that can be seen as combat, but it's very, very light on that, and it's more just yet another platforming challenge. The goal isn't to kill an enemy, it's either to make use of this additional threat that's been added in as a new moving platform, or basically as your endpoint, like where you want to get to in your platforming challenge. Just want to ask y'all, because I'm curious, have y'all played Celeste before?
I have not.
I played it not long after you played it the first time, Walker, whenever you recommended it to me. I believe it was free on Game Pass whenever I played it, so I played it and I 100%ed it, but I did not do it the legit way. Once I beat the main game, and I did as much of the extra stuff as I could, but it got to a point to where I could no longer keep up with what the game was trying to throw at me. I had to swap on the invincibility, and I did that for a bit. And then eventually I had to swap on the infinite dashes because my hands just don't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember doing the same thing, experimenting around, because I was trying to figure out, there's one achievement that's a little bit vague. It's to get a 1-up, which requires you getting 10 strawberries, collecting all 10 of them at the exact same time. So in order to do that, you cannot touch the ground for, I think, more than a second at any given time, and you cannot die. You have to collect 10 strawberries within that window. And I was just like, no, infinite dash, please. I'll just dash around the level until I have all the strawberries. I cannot do this.
You had mentioned like a story of this game. What is the medium through which you experience the story? Is it like narration as you're going through the platform? Are there notes that you pick up? Are there signs that you read? How do you get the story parts of this game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I tried not to touch too much on the story this time around for a handful of reasons. Primarily, I think because it works incredibly well as I think it's just something that you should experience.
Okay.
But to answer your question more directly, most of the story is told through dialogue. So how characters will interact with each other. There are, I think, 5 total characters that you will interact with over the course of your climb,
Okay.
and this includes the crazy granny at the very beginning. And the game does it in such a way to where whenever you approach one of these characters, the camera will zoom in close to your individual little pixel art characters, and then you'll get these big text boxes with little RPG style character portraits that are super highly detailed and expressive, and really give you like some insight into the personality of the character. Because as they talk and say things, the mouths will actually move on these portraits. They'll blink. They'll react with shock and surprise. They'll move around. There's one character later on who actually kind of interacts with the dialogue boxes themselves as they're talking, which is super super fun. But yeah, it's mostly spoken word in so much as text on a screen can be described as spoken word.
Cool. That answers my question.
Yeah.
And I've played the game before, so I don't have really many other questions, except like one gripe you had about the game. What would it be?
Ooh, a complaint. I think that some sections are a bit too long, especially for a first play and for the story. I think your first time running through, I think it's level 5, it can drag on. Especially, there's a lot of rooms that kind of bend back on each other, and you're really trying to figure your way through the map, which can be frustrating when 90% of it's a hazard and you can die. But I will say I think that's mitigated a lot by. I would say that's more of a first time playthrough gripe. Everything else, since it's presented as such a like an optional challenge, a like do this only if you want to or you feel like it's what you need to do. I spent a lot of time over the past couple nights doing the B sides of the different levels, trying to get through and master them. And ooh, on the B side of the very last level, the one that I did last night, I died over 1,500 times in one level.
Jesus.
But that was only because I wanted to do it and I wanted to prove to myself that I could. If at any point I wanted to, I could have stopped or updated the accessibility options to make that climb easier. But I wanted to learn the mechanics that the game was trying to teach me near the end of there. Yeah, I think that's it. Is mainly like the potential length of the levels would be my biggest gripe. But yeah, overall, is there anything else y'all want to ask, or is that basically it?
I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I played this game already, so I know just how everything functions on it as well, and just how great of a game it is. So this is one that if Walker didn't put on the list, I'd be putting on the list one of these go arounds. So
Yeah, I think between the gameplay, the storytelling, the aesthetic, and the music, I didn't even talk about the music much, but for a game where you're going to be repeating a lot of segments over and over and over again, there has to be something good to listen to, and Celeste comes in spades. They've got these nice, like, beautiful tracks that don't repeat often enough to where you feel like, oh, it's the same bit over again. It feels fresh and really encouraging as you're playing through, or just encapsulates the feel of the level. But between all of these different pillars, I just it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I once again would recommend it to anybody who would like to give themselves a bit of a challenge.
Brady, I believe it's your turn.
So my game is really a series of games, 3 specifically. My game is Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a sci-fi RPG set in the Milky Way galaxy. It's set just a couple hundred years into the future where scientists have discovered a new element that can do some crazy things with gravity and mass, which allow for faster than light travel, and humanity goes into the stars and finds a thriving galactic community of a bunch of aliens. And you come into this setting as Commander Shepard, Alliance, which is what the human government is called, an Alliance soldier, recruited to go on a special mission to a colony planet. And as you progress through the game, you get more credentials and move up and start doing special operations for the galactic government, and you build your crew of disparate aliens and humans and various sci-fi characters, and you build up this whole crew, and then you go through whatever challenge has come up in this particular game. So for example, in game 1 you are fighting against a villain named Saren Arterius, who is an alien of one of the main galactic species that is trying to bring forth a race of sentient machines that want to wipe out all organic life. You go through the game and you stop him with your crew, and that is the end of Mass Effect 1. In the second game, sorry, let me go back. The machine AI evils, machine gods is essentially what they are. They're called the Reapers. They are the overarching villain of the series. All 3 games, your main goal is stopping the Reapers from wiping out organic life. And you build up these crews, have a lot of conversations and dialogue options with these crews. You can even build romances if you want to. It is a very famous thing that Mass Effect does, is allow for relationships with alien characters, which biologically probably don't make sense, but fuck it, it's a video game. But yeah, you are this space commander, space captain guy, flying on your ship around the galaxy, helping people. Mass Effect has the role-playing aspect of it is in the decisions that you make throughout the game. They have a morality system called Paragon and Renegade, where if you make more positive and good decisions, you get more Paragon points. And if you make more Renegade Maverick decisions, you get Renegade points. And these allow for more dialogue options as you progress through the game. And something really fun about the Mass Effect trilogy is all of the decisions you make carry forward through the next installation in the trilogy. So, for example, in Mass Effect 1, if you decide to kill one of your crewmates, which you can do, they will be dead and no longer available to talk to or interact with in the future series.
That hurt my heart for you to say. When I heard it, I was like, what? You can kill... You just have to befriend them and bring them on as part of your team.
Yeah, and you should. Spoilers for Mass Effect. If you're a person that kills Rex at any point in Mass Effect 1, you are a bad person.
That's fair.
There are a lot of opportunities to make bad decisions and get your squad mates killed. At least 2 in the first one, and you can get almost everybody killed in the second one and third ones. So your decisions do have consequences, which is one of the fun things. Yeah, so the combat, which is another big part of this game trilogy, is third-person shooter. You bring 2 squad mates, so your crewmates that you're collecting and building relationships throughout the series, they come into combat with you, 2 of them at a time. Yourself and each of your squad mates has a gun to shoot things because sci-fi, and also abilities like tech powers, like shorting out enemy shields or hacking drones or sending out your own drones. Biotic powers, which are people that have had their genetics affected by this newly discovered element. It's basically psychic powers. And also just regular combat powers where you just get more grenades and better bullets. And you can kind of specialize your Commander Shepard into different aspects of each of those tech, biotics, and combat power sets. And each of your companions also specializes in one of those 3 areas.
Interesting. So, I guess in your experience, then, if each one specializes in one of the different parts of or one of the different battle mechanics, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is more of a personal question. Would be
sure.
Do you pick the person that kind of complements your playstyle more, or do you pick one to kind of discover new aspects of the other branches, or what is your typical go-to?
Fantastic question, because there's really 2 two different sides to the answer. The one side is just pure combat optimization. For pure combat optimization, you want a diverse squad. So whatever class your shepherd is, you want squad mates that are different. So if your shepherd is full combat focused, then you probably want a squad mate that can use biotics and a squad mate that uses tech powers. Because there are certain like chests that you need a high level of tech powers to unlock, or like certain obstacles in the world that you can only interact with specific specifications. So you want a diverse squad. There's also, especially in Mass Effect 2 and 3, the companionship aspect of it, to where you do get unique dialogue depending on which companions you take onto specific missions.
Oh, that's fun.
The pure fuckability squad.
Pure fuckability squad, which is just Liara and Tali, the two biggest waifus of the community. That's actually a pretty balanced squad too. They're both very strong. But the real answer to your question is your squad mates should always be Garrus and Rex. In any given situation, even though you can only take both of them in Mass Effect 1, they are the two best squad mates. Anytime I play, one of my squad mates is Garrus, and the other one is whoever I think fits thematically with the mission, because Garrus Vicarian is a bro.
Love Garrus. We stand Garrus in this house.
We stand Garrus in all houses. He is my profile picture on Discord.
He is. That is what we are staring at
Yep.
currently as we were having this conversation.
And it has been for
as long as I've had a profile picture on Discord, it has been Garrus Vicarian.
since I've had you friended on Discord, so.
Was there any more detail you wanted to go into before? Because I've got a couple questions. I'm curious.
There is so much detail that I want to go into. I will start chasing rabbit trails if I try to go any more in depth. So please ask your questions, unless you want to spend the next 3 hours talking about the detailed lore of the Mass Effect universe.
Well, I guess that's a good place to start. What is the lore like then? In more of a sense, is it like super encouraged to look into the lore of the world? Does it loop back to the main story and like play into it nicely, or is it just kind of a background element?
For sure. The world building is absolutely part of the story. So the history of this world, there are three main races or main species that are dominant in the galaxy. There are the Asari, which are the sexy blue chicks that you see in Mass Effect all the time. There are the Turians, which is what Garrus is. They're like kind of bird lizard people. And there are the Solarians, which are they talk very fast. And they only live like 40 years, and they're amphibious. Those three races built the Council, which is the galactic government. And you come in as humans who are trying to join the Council. There are also
so humans aren't even like a part of the.
Oh no, humans. This is set in like the year 2220-ish, like around that era. Humans have only been a part of the galactic community for about like 20 to 50 years.
Oh, so we're like babies to this whole fucking thing.
The Solarians and Asari founded the Council like 2,000 years ago.
Oh, we're like turbo babies. Yes.
So we are very much babies on the scale. We are coming into this world. We are not building it.
Gotcha.
Right? And each of those alien races have their own distinct cultures and idiosyncratisms. Like one of my favorite things is one of the minor alien races is called the Elcor. They look like giant gorilla elephants. Like their physical posture is like a gorilla, where they like walk on their knuckles. And
Okay.
They have big front limbs and short back limbs, but they're gray skin, like gray, no hair, like an elephant, and their face is just very flat. And they don't emote when they talk. Like they talk in a very monotone voice anytime you interact with them. And so they always initiate their conversations by saying how they're reacting. So, surprised. I did not expect to see you here, Shepard. Happy. It is good to see you again. Like they preface all of their conversations with the emotion that they are trying to express.
That's fantastic. I love that kind of like character building and world building.
There's a lot of cool, like little tiny world and alien and racial building quirks like that are just super fun to dig into. There's a whole like lore journal in your menu that you can read that has a very fantastic narrator in Mass Effect 1 that I think they got rid of in the later 2. But there's a lot of just background stuff that you don't need to play the games, but it does give context to why certain people are acting the way they do, and also it's just super interesting to read.
That's fantastic. I love to see lore that's properly interconnected.
Oh yeah, Mass Effect is fantastic with their lore.
Oh, man.
So, if someone were to jump into this series, would you recommend them start from the beginning, or like how do the games live up to these days? Each of them specifically.
If you are playing Mass Effect, you need to start with Mass Effect 1. You could theoretically start with 2 or 3, um, but the games are designed, you're supposed to play through all three of them because you're missing out on a lot of the character building and relationship stuff if you just hop in. Because, like I said, the decisions you make carry through the trilogy. This is really one big story throughout 3 games. So you will miss stuff if you start later on. That being said, Mass Effect Andromeda is kind of its own thing. You could probably play that on your own if you wanted to. But I would recommend starting with Mass Effect 1. The graphics and some of the mechanics are... The game was released in like 2009, and it was made in 2009.
It shows.
It only has... There's only so good a graphics they can make. There's only like they're... If you play the Legendary Edition, the combat has been streamlined a little bit. It is a little bit wonky if you play the original Mass Effect. But by the time you get to 2 and 3, the combat flows a lot better, and the combat stands up. The graphics aren't great, but they're acceptable. Like they're not going to win any awards, but you're not going to be thrown out of your immersion because, oh, that is a very badly polygoned item that you see. Like they're decent for being made however long ago they were made. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, fuck.
Oh, no. No, don't say that out loud. A decade ago.
Well, 14 actually.
Yeah, well, the first one.
Have you played the remastered trilogy that they put out, and would you recommend it?
I have. If you haven't played Mass Effect, I would recommend starting with the Legendary Edition.
Cool, okay.
It's the 3 original games, but kind of remastered. They updated some of the mechanics in the first game to kind of make it more seamless as you go through all 3. I would absolutely recommend it. It's a good consolidated way to play all 3 games in a very seamless manner. And they also include all the DLCs in the Legendary Edition, which is great.
I've wanted to play for a very long time now. Just have not gotten around to it. As I understand it, it is quite like an epic RPG in the sense that it is very massive in scope.
It is very large. There is a lot of stuff to do in these games. It is definitely a significant time commitment to finish all 3 because all 3 of them are like full video games individually. And even though they are meant to be played together, each one of them is a significant game to play through, especially if you do want 100% it.
That leads into my next question really well. Let's say someone doesn't have the time to actually go through all 3 of them and play it, and they want to start and just do the third one,
Right.
or the second one. Is there a good like onboarding like sequence at the beginning or something that will still like dive them into the world of as effectively as if they were to start at the beginning or not?
No, I would not say that the games are designed for you to pick them up and play them and be fully aware of how the story is working. You're going to miss a lot if you don't play the earlier games. I would recommend if you don't have time to play all 3, look up, like, I would recommend finding some outside materials to like catch you up on what happened in the games that you didn't play. If you really want to enjoy the experience but don't have time to play all 3.
And I've got one more question if you're willing.
Yeah.
If you were going to sell someone on this game in like if you were going to say one thing to someone to sell them on the game, what would it be? Is there like any one thing, or is it just like as a whole?
I would say the thing that Mass Effect does best, I think, is squad mate relationships. So if you're wanting to interact with a bunch of cool sci-fi characters and have a lot of dialogue with them and learn more about them and make decisions and build your relationships within a game that also has really fun combat and lore, I think the crewmate system is the number one selling point of Mass Effect.
Hell yeah. All right, cool. Thank you. It's definitely one I'm going to be trying it at some point in the nearest future.
can't recommend it enough. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. And I don't know that there's another game that's as good, in my opinion.
While y'all two were going through y'all's games, I went and did the tally for the most used type of the champion mons.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
What is
And
it?
y'all both have the top 2 answers selected.
Oh shit! Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Water and flying?
Yep. With one of them having 17, the other one having 19, it was actually that close. But
Damn.
water took it.
Tell us about Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Oh man. I'm gonna start off with saying I play this game annually, so I've played it recently, and after playing it recently again, move over Elden Ring because you're no longer my favorite game anymore again. It's Sekiro. Elden Ring's gonna have a lot of popularity, and a lot of people are gonna feel like that's their favorite game. So like that's a very all-around answer that you'll probably get a lot. That's why I want to stick with Sekiro as my favorite game, and after going through this most recent playthrough, it still is. I still got it. It's like riding a bike. Even though I haven't rode a bike in how long has it been since we were at college? 5 years? 6 years? Something like that? I haven't rode a bike
Don't say
since,
that out loud. I'm so sorry. That's painful to hear.
I haven't rode a bike in that long. I guarantee you I could still get on it and not fall over easy. That's how this game is for me. The combat in this game is my favorite combat of anything, and it's not your typical Souls combat. Instead of your basic dodge rolling and getting a few hits in, you're always at the forefront of the fight. You're not running away to heal or anything. You're constantly in the fight, slowly chipping away at the boss. It goes off on a deflection-based combat style instead. So instead of doing your normal just Dark Souls swings, you get a few swings in and then your stamina bar's out. No, you don't have a stamina bar. You swing and you break someone's posture by deflecting or getting hits on them to where and getting hits on them will cause them to lose health, which makes it easier to chip away at their posture. And you deflect their blows at you in order to, you kind of have this dance while you're fighting stuff. We'll get more into the dance later on, but I need to just start with just the couple things. You begin this game, and you can already tell the attention to detail is really good. The graphics are great. It's set in feudal Japan, and it opens with a cutscene of your character being discovered on a battlefield as a child, and you assume his family's dead at this point. He's discovered by a lone samurai that agrees to take him in and train him, and you become Sekiro, the lone wolf. And you start this game down in a cave where you were left abandoned, and you find out that your master is in trouble. So you finally get up one last time to go and help your master, and it teaches you the basics through a really good level. You learn the basics of traversal, though you don't have the full extent of it yet, and you learn about stealth, you learn about eavesdropping, you learn exactly what's going on here in Ashina. And you finally get to the point to where you get to your master, and he awards you a sword because you no longer have your current sword. And then he tells you to meet him by a getaway place so that y'all can flee and be safe, and Ashina will no longer be under threat. And so you get out and you go and fight these enemies, and it teaches you the basics of the combat, your deflection to bring up the posture and everything. And you stab these NPCs, and then it immediately throws you into your first quote-unquote boss fight, or someone that has more than, you have to deal more than one death blow, which is whenever someone's posture runs out, you're able to deal a death blow, which usually insta-kills the thing unless it's a boss or greater creature. So you run into your first boss, which requires 2 death blows to beat. And the entire time, you're deflecting their moves while they are deflecting yours and trying to counterattack. And it's just this back and forth the entire time of you swinging, deflecting, and it's so rhythmic, and the attack patterns become so ingrained in your head that it just becomes a song, basically. It becomes the dance. You just ding, ding, attack, attack again, your attack gets deflected, then you go back to deflecting, you're on the defensive, and the back and forth eventually hopefully results in your victory. And so you beat these first few guys, you meet your master, the young Kuro, at the little getaway door, and you go through just to find out that the getaway was known about, and the leader of the Ashina is in front of you, and in a beautiful cutscene that one of the best things about it is it replicates this at the end of the game whenever you do it. This area that you're in, it takes you into this boss fight that you're not supposed to win. You're expected to lose. Even if you win, in the cutscene following, your character will lose. But this is the exact arena that you'll fight your final battle in as well. And they almost do a frame-by-frame exact cutscene of you taking your sword out. And in the first one, at the beginning, you fumble a bit. You don't know where the blade is. You don't know how to find it. And you pull it out and get ready to do this fight. And instantly go into this fight, and you're expected to lose. So you lose, and your arm gets cut off, your left arm. And you're left there to die. Whenever you do come back to this arena at the end of the game, there's no fumbling for your blade. You're more... You've trained to this point. You've conquered your demons. You've mastered the art of the sword. And you find your blade instantly and unsheath it and do a perfect stance. And just that small attention to detail is apparent throughout the entirety of this game. So after you wake up with your arm cut off, you find that you're in a hut with a mysterious man who has replaced what used to be your arm that was cut off with a wooden prosthetic. And this wooden prosthetic, you find out later on that you're able to infuse tools into it to make your combat better. You can have surprise firecrackers to stun your enemies. You can have a loaded spear into it that you can launch out, and if you have the cleave version of it, you rip off armor from people that you hit it with. And you have there are shurikens that can be loaded into it. There's an axe you can swing for heavy damage. There's so many different. I think there's 8 or 9 different things you can build this prosthetic tool for, and you can have 3 of them equipped at any time. And it just makes your combat so varied, and it feels really good. So on top of that, you get these scrolls that teach you different techniques for just your sword skills and everything. And eventually you can learn ninjutsu, which there are 3 of them. And they're just ways to augment how you play. One of them's good for stealth. One of them's good for overwhelming your enemy. And then the other one's good for just all-out offense, buffing yourself. And they really help you learn how to play your way. The stealth in this game, though it's a little finicky and it can be kind of hard, it's pretty tight in how vision cones work, and how you'll try to sneak past something, but they'll detect you instantly no matter once you cross a certain threshold. You learn your limits in the stealth by whether or not this was a stealth section, or this is the next wall for you to conquer. You have to there's no stealthing it, you have to get around this. So the story basically has you trying to stop this uprising in Ashina, led by Genichiro, the guy who cut off your arm. It gives you a whole bunch, after you finally make it back to Ashina Castle and rescue your master safely, he sends you on a whole bunch of fetch quests to stop you from resurrecting, because every time you die, you resurrect using the blood of the heir. And for some reason, the heir's blood that's been passed down through his generations always gives immortality to his samurai until they die. So you're basically immortal, but every time you come back, there's a % chance that you'll infect someone with a sickness, and once people get affected with sickness, they have this horrible cough and they start dying off, and soon you won't have those people in the world anymore. These NPCs will just disappear. As well as you're punished whenever you die by half the progress to your next level up is taken away, as well as half the current money you have. It's avoided sometimes by this called unseen aid, which starts at a 30%, but every time there's someone affected by dragon rot, which is the disease for dying, it goes down further. So you're punished for dying a lot because you have the free resurrect from the heir's blood. So basically, you're going through in the heir. He doesn't want the country to fight over his blood anymore, so he wishes for you to sever his immortality. So he sends you on a whole bunch of fetch quests, fetching certain items and different scrolls to figure out how to exactly do this. And you do this, and the entire time you're getting stronger, you're fighting these crazy bosses, and you go through these environments that you can really tell. You can tell what you're going to face before you face it. Like, for instance, there's a valley where there's a whole bunch of monkeys that have learned to arm themselves with the weapons of the feudal Japan. They have guns, they have swords, they wear helmets. There are even some that have gotten smart enough to where they use those swords very effectively, like to the point you actually have to deflect their moves, and like it's an actual fight between them. And the entire time you're going through, you just see evidence of some big brute that has done damage to all sorts of areas in this valley. And you finally get to the end of that valley just to figure out that there's a giant ape with a giant sword that has been shoved through his neck already, but he's still standing. He is perfectly fine. And a lot more of the story can be told just through the environment. There's a lot of examples of it, but I don't want to go too far into it. So, and there are multiple endings, so there are different ways that you can choose to sever the immortality. There's even an ending in which you betray your master and listen to your father instead. And that's one of the shortest endings, but also one of the most crazy, but it's also meant to be probably the most accurate ending. Because one of the very first things that your father tells you, or the guy who took you in, who you call father, tells you at the beginning of the game is, listen to your master above all else. Listen to me above even him. Or something along those points. I can't remember the exact quote. And so he eventually, throughout the game, will ask you, are you ready to betray your master? And you have to make the choice right there. And that will lock you into whether or not you do the Shura ending, or you go through with severing the immortality a certain way. Whichever way you decide. The environments in this game are just so gorgeous in how they create them. There's one specifically, the very last place in the game is this giant lake that has all these sort of temples leading up around it and everything. And the only way to get to the top of the temple is actually to dive into the lake and take a secret tunnel underground. And the entire time, the area is decorated with sakura trees, and it's the colors are vibrant, and the creatures that you fight there are very interesting. And the entire level encapsulates with you climbing a mountain behind the final temple and going into the divine realm to fight an actual Chinese dragon with a sword. And that fight is a spectacle fight if I've ever seen one. It's not so much mechanic heavy or difficult. It is meant to be a spectacle, and it is. It is one of my favorite fights I've ever done in any video game. It's just gorgeous how you're fighting the dragon, and his sword blows are so strong that they create wind waves that come at you that you have to dodge, just so that you can get close to him and hop onto a tree to catch lightning, which is the only way to damage him. It's so gorgeous, and I still lose my words whenever I think about it. A couple of the other fights that are really interesting. There's a puzzle fight with the folding screen monkeys where it shows you 4 screens. One has a monkey that has his hand over his eyes like he's looking far in a direction. One has another monkey that has this cone over his head. Another one has one more monkey that... What is that one doing? Vision, sight. I can't remember what the third monkey does off the top of my head. And then the fourth panel being completely blank. And for that one, you don't know it yet, but once you kill the 3 monkeys that are shown on the panel, because they share a health bar and they're a boss, the health bar is only at a quarter filled left whenever you kill those 3 monkeys, and you have no clue what you're supposed to do for a second, unless you either have been specifically hearing or talk to a guy that tells you there's an invisible monkey behind you the entire time as soon as you enter that area. And you can kill that monkey first, you can kill it whenever. But just the discovery of that, like, I'm pretty sure I discovered it throwing wild sword swipes randomly because I was getting frustrated with the inability to find what the game was trying to tell me. But the entire time it was right there. As far as mechanical fights, my favorite is being Owl the Father. Whenever you fight him in a past memory, and he's at his strongest, he pulls out all the stops. He does the sly tricks that a shinobi would do, and he uses the same tools you do. Just the fights in this game are so good, and they're so unique in each of them. The owl's second phase begins, and he summons his actual pet owl, and he uses it, and it's in its spirit form, so it's actually flying around as a spirit, and there will be times where the owl will just disappear. Your father will just disappear, and then he comes and is summoned at the position of the owl and does a strike on you, and it's just so well choreographed, and each fight feels unique. It feels like, though I said the dragon was a spectacle fight, each fight does feel like a spectacle, and it makes you feel like an actual shinobi whenever you're fighting these enemies. The ape that I had talked about earlier with the sword in his neck, you actually completely decapitate him whenever you defeat his first phase, and you start walking away, and the body starts moving again, and he fucking gets up and lifts his head in one hand and has the sword that was in his neck that you decapitated him with the other, and then the second round of the fight begins. Like, there's so many wild ideas in this game that you would think wouldn't work, but they do to absolute perfection. And I've gushed about it, and I haven't stopped to breathe in the past 10-15 minutes. You can see how much love I have for this game. It's fantastic. I'll leave it open to a couple of questions.
Nah, that love definitely shows. I mean, most of my questions are pretty general. I mean, it comes down to me is, what does the accessibility look like for this game in your opinion? Can anyone just jump in and play, or do you feel like they need to mentally prepare themselves for a brutal experience, or what do you think?
So unfortunately, it is a FromSoft game, and FromSoft are notorious for having difficult games. Elden Ring has definitely been the most accessible one that they've made, and Sekiro is not. In fact, I think the learning curve for the beginning of this game is probably the hardest learning curve of anyone, but once you get it, you got it, and you can beat this game easily. Honestly, I feel like once you can get the deflection timings down, you can get so far in this game without any of the other stuff, as long as you have that core deflection down. It does have the typical dodge roll, or, well, not a dodge roll, but it does have like sort of a sidestep to a backstep kind of. So it's not to the extent of dodge rolling in Dark Souls, but it does have that ability to try and dodge to avoid damage. It does not have any magic. There are certain items you can use that will help you do like just a couple of additional things. They're like small buffs that you can do, and that's how you can get around roadblocks very easily. But mostly you're just using the tools in your prosthetic arm and your own sword and your deflection timing.
Hell yeah. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Brady. You sound like you had something to say.
Yeah. My question is, you described a lot of really interesting and detailed boss fights. Do you have a favorite boss fight?
Yeah, the guardian ape that I described is my favorite one. Just the fact that you kill it, you take out its one health bar, you kill it, decapitating it with the sword around its neck, which does in the dopest way possible by like he climbs up the ape, stabs his own sword into like the skull of it, and then like swings on the sword in his neck to like get some centripetal force going to just have it move in his neck. And whenever you decapitate it, he picks up his head, and his head now has a scream that inflicts terror, which is an insta-kill status if the bar fills up in this game, which accurate. If I kill a, well, I'm not going to go out killing monkeys, but if I see an ape get killed and its body gets up and pulls its head up and the head starts screaming, I'm going to be terrified. So that one's definitely my favorite, with the Owl the Father, specifically the one back in the memory being a close second because of just how satisfied you feel whenever you beat that one, because that's supposedly the hardest, or one of, if not the hardest fight in the game in my opinion. And because he's the shinobi that trained you, it's literally the son becoming stronger than the father moment, and it's just such a good fight.
I don't really have a whole lot of questions. You covered like the aspects of the main story and lore really well. I mean the combat you talked about in great detail about the dance. I mean that's obviously like a flow state feel. How is it? How long did it take you to get there for the first time? Like be able to enter this with the mindset of, oh yeah, we're dancing around.
Um, it's different for every boss, honestly. Like they're like after you've died to a boss a certain amount of times, you just get to the point where like I know every move he's gonna do, and I know I can react to it now. And there are some gambles I know I'm willing to take to deal this amount of damage, and I'll be able to heal up afterwards if I'm smart with my timing. And it's just that it's different for every fight. So once you learn a boss to a certain extent, that's whenever the dance comes into play. You'll be able to flow and do your blows and deflect his blows, all while taking advantage of the timings that he does. So there's also these special moves that feel really satisfying whenever you pull off. It shows up a little kanji symbol whenever it does it, but it's really quick. You have to react really fast. I don't even read the kanji. I read the movement and the position that the boss or the person doing this attack is in. If it's a thrust, you have an ability you can buy in the skill tree that allows you to deflect it downward and then step on the blade and kind of Mikuri counter, and it does a massive amount of damage to their posture. And this is a good way to be able to get their attack out of the way and get a couple blows in. There's a sweep, which you can jump in the air and kind of do a double jump off of them to do some damage to their posture, and then you can come down and swing a couple times as well. And then there's a grab. Grabs are non-deflectable. You have to be able to dodge those. If you get hit by a grab, they are some of the most punishing moves in the game. For instance, if you get grabbed by the ape, he will slam you into the ground and then throw you backwards, and you'll be like a football field's length away from the ape. If you get grabbed by Owl the Father, he will impale you with his sword, and the amount of damage is most of the time a one shot unless you've been going through collecting all the health upgrades in the game. And if you get caught by a sweep, normally it's just an instant stagger. Like instantly you lose all your posture and you take damage, so you have to get it back up. As for the thrust, it just does a lot of damage and normally knocks you on your ass.
Sweet. I mean, I'll offer you the same question that I offered a Brady, is if you wanted to sell this game in one little like phrase or word, or how would you recommend it?
Do you ever have that one moment in a game that you just instantly click with and you feel like nothing can touch you? It's if you're able to master, hell, not even master, just get to a certain point in this game, you will have that moment in a few of these fights with just your ability to perform the dance that I've been talking about the entire time.
There it is,
So,
folks. Yeah. That's a handful of recommendations from us three. Hopefully there's something in that mix that you'll pick up on and vibe with, and hopefully enjoy as much as we did.
We got quite the variety there, so I
yeah,
expect you to
all
find something.
sorts. And if you don't, I'm sure we'll have more recommendations for you in a later episode.
And if it turns out you don't like older games and you don't like going backwards, well, we'll be bringing you the new ones the more we go on this year. So thank you all for listening to Joystick Frequency. I was Trent.
I was Brady.
I am Walker. Wait, are y'all not you anymore?
We're swapping
Oh
names.
no, I'm changing my name as soon as this recording.
Yeah,
is
legal
over.
reasons.
Oh, send me the message next time so I can get in on it.
Anyway,
That's it, y'all.
thank y'all for tuning into the Joystick Frequency. We'll catch you on the next wavelength.
Bye.
Bye.